that Morgan Scalley has been suspended. University of Utah defensive coordinator suspended immediately and indefinitely as a result of a 2013 text message that included, quote, racist language. So if we get any information before we say goodnight tonight at 6, we will bring that to you. But time now for our last guest of the week, and it is certainly appropriate to have Tony Jones close out a really interesting week for us here on The Drive on a Friday. T, my man, how you doing?
How are you, man? Thanks for having me on, as always.
I'm good, man, and thanks for the time, as you know. Let's just start here. You, obviously, most people know you now as an NBA guy and a Utah Jazz guy, but you covered the Utes. You covered Utah football. You know this market. And I've known Morgan 20 years. But your reaction when you heard the news that Morgan Scalley, Utah defensive coordinator, has been suspended as a result of a text message in 2013 that includes, quote, racist language.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Probably shocked is more the word, because I got to know Morgan. I got to know Coach Scalley pretty well, and I thought he was I thought he was a terrific guy. He's always been really good to me, and it's unfortunate. That something like this happens, and but it's racism deserves a zero tolerance policy. So I'm just really surprised that to hear the news and to hear that it was Coach Scalley. Nobody I know, none of the players that I dealt with when I was covering the U had a bad word to say about him. White, black, Spanish, Tongan, anything. So, it's one of those things where, it's something that's unfortunate.
Moving on to the macro side of things this week, Tony, I was talking about it earlier. On Monday night, I was on Talking Sports. Dave Fox asked me for an adjective about how I was feeling. I said sad. It's Friday, and I've changed my adjective to embarrassed. I'm doing the best I can. It's embarrassing that I didn't know as much as I thought I did, and it's embarrassing that I live in a country that my ancestors have, perpetuated a cycle that's hundreds of years old, and it doesn't feel like the progress is near enough. I know I'm not qualified to talk about this, man. I'm just doing the best I can, and I appreciate people like you. So give me an adjective. What's your adjective today about how you felt about this week, and how have you felt as you've dissected everything that's gone down?
Yeah, I would say frustrated, just because, we're at 2020 and we're still, at this point of regression in terms of social equality and social justice. Many of you guys read, I wrote a column that ran in The Athletic on Monday that kind of, encapsulates my feelings and, sums up some of the personal issues I've had dealing with racism, growing up and, as I became an adult. So, just the fact that, we're here and, and we're still at this point, and, we're in 2020 and segregation and the Civil Rights Bill, they were passed, the Civil Rights Bill was passed in the 60s, and segregation, ended in the 60s, and slavery ended in the 1860s, and that we are still here and of this mindset collectively as a country, frankly, to me, is just awful.
Have you been able to take any positivity from the week as far as maybe people – because I've been screaming all week, you're allowed to change your opinion when presented with new information. And it does feel like a lot of people want to learn that information, and hopefully that leads to them changing the way they feel. Is there anything you've taken from this week that leads you feeling, I don't know, maybe hopeful?
Just the amount of pushback, how many people, who have said and shown through their actions that, hey, this is a problem and we do have to do something about it. And this is, something that can't be stood for. But The other thing about it is, when we talk about the nationwide outbreak of the social unrest in this country, we're we're at a perfect storm, right? Because a lot of it's due to racial equality or the lack of racial equality, and a lot of it's due to the lack. We have a big socioeconomic issue in this country right now. You know, I mean, and we, people, and we're in a pandemic. People have been cooped up in their homes for 3 months. So you add all of that together, then yeah, there's, along with the police brutality that we have in this country, I mean, things have kind of exploded. So, there's one issue that's obviously at the forefront, but there are so many other issues at play right now, and so many things that are wrong with our country.
Have you been able to talk to any Jazz players or any? I mean, I know you're close to a lot of the guys that both play here and have played here. We haven't heard a ton. We've heard some here and there from some Jazz guys who are more active on social, but have you been able to talk to any of those guys? And if so, how are they doing right now?
Yeah, I've talked to multiple guys. I talked to a couple guys and say, hey, thinking about writing this column, and the feedback was, yeah, that's something that you need to do because your voice needs to be heard. I think that guys have been active in what they felt. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, Jordan Clarkson, George Niang. All of those guys off the top of my head have been pretty active on social media and voicing, their collective opinion on what's going on. So, I wouldn't say that they've been active in an official manner, but I would say that they've been very active in an unofficial manner.
All right. It feels weird to move on, but look, there's a lot of NBA stuff to get to, and we're going to get to that. But a couple of different things before. Now, you are well connected to the high school sports scene here. I'm not. And you know AAU coaches. I don't. I mean, I spend time doing other things. But news broke earlier from our guy, Steve Bartle, that Caleb Lohner, who's a really talented in-state player who has committed to the University of Utah, Tony, he's asked to be released from his commit to go down and play for Mark Pope and BYU, which, of course, is a big story. What's your reaction to this? There are a lot of layers here.
Well, I've talked to a couple of sources, and, first of all, Steve Bartle is just a rock star. He's done an amazing job on the recruiting scene, and I think that he's gotten himself to the point where he's the forefront of the market when it comes to recruiting news, whether it be football, whether it be basketball. So he deserves, a lot of credit for a lot of the work that he's been doing, not only, just beyond breaking this story today on Caleb. So, the feedback that I got from sources close to the situation is that one of the big things that's been a sticking point with Caleb is the style of play at Utah versus the style of play at BYU. That's one of the things, and one of the other things that I think was noteworthy that I was told was that, I think there was a groundswell within, Caleb's circle that, he committed to the U a little bit too early, that he didn't really take his time and go through the recruiting process. But it's a tough situation now, right? Because you wait until June to make this kind of a decision. You've already signed a letter of intent. And, I feel really badly for Larry Krystkowiak because, frankly, he's in an impossible situation. The sources I talked to say that, Larry doesn't want to let Caleb out. They want to try to work it out, and they want to try to work through this. But at the same time, if Larry doesn't let him out, he looks it's just not great from a public relations standpoint. So he's kind of in a lose-lose situation. And Caleb's a good player, man. He's, a very, very good athlete. He's a very good shooter. He's a guy who can make plays off the dribble. I think if you put him in the West Coast Conference, let's say he goes to BYU, you put him in the West Coast Conference, you play him, at power forward, he's going to be one of those guys that's a real mismatch at power forward because of his athleticism, his ability to shoot the ball, and his ability to attack people off the dribble. So it's a tough situation. He's a top 100 guy, and it's difficult to swallow for the University of Utah because of the timing.
Last thing on this, then we'll move on. What does this say to you about and look, obviously every individual situation deserves specific attention, but on a macro level, what does it say about the U and what does it say about BYU, in your opinion, as far as the state of the programs?
Yeah, I think it would be a blow for the U, because I think that they were counting on Caleb to really come in and provide shooting and athleticism. That's the thing with this University of Utah roster that this recruiting cycle was going to add. That wasn't a really athletic roster. None of those guys really played above the rim. Booth Gotch played above the rim in transition. But other than Booth, and Brandon Carlson, he plays above the rim in the paint. But not a lot of guys on that roster played above the rim. And, Caleb plays above the rim. Ian Martinez plays above the rim. And this was a recruiting class that was supposed to add athleticism to a roster that didn't have it. So, losing Caleb in that sense, that's a blow. And, you can, at the college level, at the pro level, in today's climate of basketball, period, you can never have enough good shooting on your roster. And Caleb was a good shooter. So it's definitely a blow for Utah. It would definitely be a boom for BYU, because, they're trying to retool around, losing Yoli Childs and TJ Hawes and Jake Toulson, so, they think that he could come in and contribute right away. It'll be interesting to see, what happens if Caleb matriculates to BYU. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Gavin Baxter, because I think Gavin was counting on, not only starting if not being a starter at the 4 this year, being a major contributor, and now all of a sudden you have, a top 100 guy who's probably best as a power forward. I think you can get away with playing Caleb at small forward, but I think he's probably more of a 4-3 than a 3-4. So they're going to be ripple effects for both programs on and off the floor if this goes through. This is big.
It is, no doubt. Okay, we move over to the NBA now, Tony. I got a two-part question for you. What do you make of the news that we've received of everything as far as leagues coming back, and we know when, we know what it's going to look like, and then what's your opinion about what they decided? Do you like the format, or would you have liked to see something different?
No, I like the format. I mean, I think the Memphis Grizzlies got screwed, but somebody was going to get screwed, regardless. I understand why the league is doing the play-in because, they absolutely have to figure out a way to get revenue back. I think just, for economy's sake, I think it's good that the NBA is coming back. For economy's sake, I think it would be really good if Major League Baseball found a way to get its act together and find a way to have a season. For economy's sake, it's good that the NHL is on the verge of coming back as well, and Major League Soccer as well. All of that stuff, that's revenue, not only for those specific leagues, but for the economy as well. So I'm happy that the league is coming back. Um, under the under the guise that everything is safe and not a whole bunch of people test positive for COVID-19 and we don't have a major relapse. If we can do that and people stay healthy, then yeah, this is really good. I think it gives people something to look forward to. We've had a lot of despair in the last 3 or 4 months. A lot of people have been affected in a lot of ways. So I think that this is a good thing.
From a Jazz standpoint, a couple of things I want to get to here. Actually, have you heard from anyone over there about how they feel about the format? I mean, there was only one dissenting voice. That was Portland. So obviously the Jazz voted thumbs up. But have you heard from anybody over there about how they're really feeling about it, or do you think they're on board?
No, they're on board. 100%. I think, in fact, I wrote this in my story a couple of days ago, but this helps the Jazz. The format helps the Jazz because, they don't have Bojan Bogdanovic. And let's say we go straight to a playoff format. Well, now you're trying to figure out how to play without Bojan Bogdanovic on the fly with everything on the line. The Jazz have clinched the playoff berth, and they're going to be, in the top 7 seeds. And if you put Denver, Utah, Dallas, Houston, and Oklahoma City all in a hat, let me ask you this question. How many different winners do you have out of 10?
Whew. That's, variable, certainly, depending on.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I understand your point.
So, the point is, it kind of really doesn't matter if the Jazz get the 3, 4, 5, or 6 seed because, they're going to be playing somebody really good anyway. And it just kind of matters what the matchups are. Like, it matters if they play the Rockets. You want to avoid the Rockets, but does it really matter if you play Denver, Dallas, or Oklahoma City? All 3 of those teams are really good, 50-win type teams. So the way this helps the Jazz is now that you have 8 regular season games, you can figure out, now that you have 8 regular season games, you can kind of take those 8 games and tinker with what works, what doesn't work in the rotation without Bojan Bogdanovic. And basically you can just use those 8 games as a runway to figure out what your playoff rotation is going to be once and for all. And if we had gone straight to a playoff format, the Jazz would have had to figure out how to deal with their second best offensive player on the fly. Now they have a runway to deal with how to deal with their second best without their second best offensive player.
Last thing, Tony, we'll set you loose on this. It's been 12 weeks since we've seen a game. It's been 87 days since we've seen a game, and it's still going to be 56 days until we see the next game. Why do you think they've given themselves such a runway, to use your term, before they get going? Is it as simple as the fact that we have a pandemic in front of us? Are there other things that they need to figure out? Why so much time?
Because they need a month of training camp, and you need 8. I think you need the regular season games because when you get to the playoffs, especially for the revenue that's at stake, you want your basketball to be as quality as possible. And you don't want to come back on June 15th. You don't want to start training camp on June 15th, start regular season games on June 22nd, and start the playoffs on July 1st or whatever, and have your basketball be less than quality. You want your basketball to be quality. So you're giving everybody a chance to get to their market, to their respective markets. B, you're giving everybody a chance to have a week training camp in their respective individual markets. C, you're giving everybody a chance to have 3 weeks of a training camp and a 3-week acclimation period to Orlando. D, you're giving them 8 regular season games, all for the grand finale, which is you want your playoffs to be great. You want them to be fun to watch. You want them to be exhilarating. You want them to be quality. You don't want games to be 86-83. You want games to be quality. You want guys making shots. You want the basketball. You want to give yourself the chance to have basketball at the level of what we all expect at a playoff level. So I think that's why you're seeing the league give so much time to ramp up to that spot.
All right, bud. Appreciate the time today, of course. By the way, Brady claims that you are ignoring his text messages and challenges to play him in 2K. Is this true?
I run from no man.
Brady, come on air. What's the deal? You claim Tony ignores your text messages, and he disagrees. What's up?
Well, no. So,
oh, you're changing your story.
Are we backpedaling?
No. This is Spence's old information that I reached out to you last week and said we could keep going, but I figured that we'd give it some time. And
did you text Tony to ask him to play 2K?
I did, but he didn't respond to that. But then I talked to him last Friday.
Hold on. No, we need to get to the truth here. So Tony, I will act as the mediator here. Brady claims he texted you to challenge you and you didn't respond. What's your response to that?
I thought when he texted me, I said, let's do it.
I did not get that, but then we talked last Friday and we said we'd get it going. The last weekend events kind of changed things.
All right. Do we have a runway on this show for me to check my text messages?
Absolutely. Yes. 100%. So,
okay. Let's see. Brady Clark.
Can we agree that you guys will play this weekend? Can we agree on that?
I can't agree with that. My father-in-law just moved into the house.
Fair enough. That changes things. Can we agree that you will get a game in before you join us next Friday? That gives you guys 1 week.
We could do that.
Brady?
That could be possible, yes.
Wait a minute, Brady, when did you send this text message?
I just sent the text to Spence, but the date was Wednesday, May 27th at 6:11 p.m.
I did not respond to that text message.
All right.
That is my fault.
Okay, there we go. So you say you do not run from no man.
Brady is vindicated.
Okay. But no,
I
okay.
thought I responded to it.
Now here's the drill. But you guys have 1 week from today to play. You both can agree we can do that, yeah?
We good.
All right.
We
are good.
All right, T. Be good, man. Be safe. Let me know if you need me, okay?
Brady, prepare to be demolished.
Cannot wait for this. All right.
All right.
Be good, T.
Later.